Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're already part of the Sprinkle Squad. I am so happy to see you again, and today we are actually working on a Bachelor tiny home. And it's kind of funny, when I started working on this build, I had no idea really what I was building. I was just kind of building whatever kind of came to me. Like, I thought it would be really cool to have this little hallway with a window that you could like see into it. I don't know why, but I just thought that would be kind of cool. And honestly, it just kind of evolved into a Bachelor tiny home. And it's actually kind of funny. I built this before we got that like Casanova kit, which I feel like to me is kind of this like Bachelor kit. I think it's like Don Lothario inspired, that kind of thing. Like, but I didn't end up using it. I didn't even have it at that point. But I went on like a couple weeks ago, I guess at this point, I went on a kick of just like building. I like was constantly building. I think it was kind of around the time like I wasn't feeling well, so I wasn't really like up to doing voiceovers, but I was like building and I was like really inspired to do that. So I just ended up with a bunch of builds totally randomly, and it just kind of ended up I wanted to use this really pretty like navy, and I don't know, it just kind of evolved into this like, I don't know, Bachelor tiny home. Now, of course, again, like if you're a bachelor, your house doesn't need to be blue, and you don't even have to like the color blue. But this is just what I was envisioning for kind of like a Bachelor tiny home. And I end up actually putting in, I think I decided at the end to actually put in a backyard. I wasn't really like planning on putting in a backyard per se, but I ended up doing it anyways. And again, at the very beginning, I struggled a little bit with what I wanted it to look like, if that made sense. Originally, like when I started the build, I was also thinking maybe it would be like 2 roommates or something, so it was definitely going to have a different layout. Like it was definitely going to be a lot more cramped, that kind of thing. So I end up swapping out like some of the potted plants and things like that. It just, once I was done with the inside, it didn't feel like it matched anymore, if that made sense. Like I felt like the sim that decorated the inside of this lot wouldn't have been the same sim to decorate the outside, so I had to like tweak that a little bit. But we do end up putting like a grill in the backyard and everything. I had thought about like a pool or something, but then it just felt like that was a little bit much for this particular lot. And this is the Rindle Rose lot in Willow Creek, just in case you were wondering. And I do usually put that in the description down below too, if you're ever wondering. Of course, it can be placed on any lot you want it to be, but I like to include that in case you want it to be on the lot I built it on, if that makes sense. Which this is actually up on the Sims 4 gallery already if you want to download it under my ID spicensprinkles, all one word, all lowercase, and down in the description if you want to see it written out, which of course you can download it and tweak it however you see fit. I do think I end up putting in a chess table. I feel like I put an easel. Maybe I didn't actually. I'm trying to remember. Like I said, I did this a few weeks ago just because I was kind of like doing a lot of building. And honestly, like when I got into this bathroom, I loved this. I believe it's a Parenthood actual like tile, and it just looks so pretty. I feel like I don't use it super often, especially in this swatch, but I feel like it just like drawing on those like darker hues and some of that blue and black, that's kind of what I took as inspiration for the rest of it, which I fell in love with the bathroom. So that's what I was saying, like this didn't necessarily match then the outside. Like it just didn't feel like maybe this sim would have like a super colorful like rug out front, you know what I mean? Especially since I was thinking that maybe it was just a single sim that lived here. So it wasn't like, you know, one of the people that lived here wanted that rug and the other person decorated the bathroom, that kind of thing. So I ended up actually fitting in like a full living room, a little dining space as well. I was back and forth about the dining space. I originally thought maybe I'd put it and make it like a really tiny kitchen. Then I thought maybe I'd put the dining space there in that like hallway, but I ended up actually putting it kind of behind the couch. And then I ended up using this, I believe it's the Perfect Patio counters, which I don't think we actually have upper cabinets for, of course, because that's, you know, that would be too easy. But I ended up using this really pretty like black and blue swatch, which I don't think I've ever used. Like I'm honestly really in love with this kitchen as well. Like I think the color scheme just kind of came together, and I guess it's not a color scheme I use super often. So it was just kind of fun to do something a little bit different. So just kind of bringing in some blues here and there. And I do end up, of course, putting in like a pretty decent sized TV for this space, because I feel like you would need to. I know it's that stereotypical like Bachelor like would have a big TV thing, but you know what I mean? It's just, this is just what I was building. You know what I mean? And what I figured this sim would enjoy. And then kind of using that Book Nook lamp over there, I figured it actually worked with the table super well. And then I believe that is the couch from the Desert Luxe kit, which I think ended up working very nicely. And I think the coffee table is also from Desert Luxe. And I love that chair in the corner so much. It's from Snowy Escape. And I honestly love that it has two different chairs, one of which has that like throw on it and the other one doesn't, so you could really have a nice pairing if you wanted to, like if you had space for two. But I just felt like maybe it would be a little cramped for that, especially since I'm thinking only one sim is going to live here. And then just adding in, actually this picture I remembered kind of existed. I feel like I used to use it a lot and then I haven't used it in forever, so it almost just looks like cool photography like in black and white, and I thought that would look really neat in this space. And then just adding, of course, clutter, because I can't help myself. It's just, we have to have stuff kind of everywhere. And you can see I kind of like threw that like basketball like piece into the hallway. It doesn't stay there, I promise. But I didn't want to forget that it existed, so I wanted to make sure I like pulled it out. I feel like we're at the point where we have so many items in the game. When I come across an item I feel like I might want to use, I need to just go ahead and pull it out and put it somewhere so I don't forget about it. You know what I mean? Because then if I do remember, then I have to figure out where it was, like that kind of thing. So I save myself the struggle and just go ahead and place it there. I don't even remember if I ended up using it, to be honest. Like, I feel like maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. And then I end up using, I think it's a Dream Home Decorator bed in this space because I like the blue and everything and like the gray kind of like blanket, I guess, at the end. I'm assuming that's a blanket. I don't know. That's what I've always assumed it was. I don't think it's part of the comfort. Now I'm like second guessing myself as I'm like talking about it and posting it on the internet, but I feel like that is. And then just kind of squeezing in an end table over here because like your sim can definitely get to the bed and everything. It's kind of like a tight fit, especially since all of our nightstands in this game for the most part are just so huge. Like almost none of them fit anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but I wanted your sim to have access to both sides of the bed in case you wanted to have two sims live here, because obviously that's definitely an option, but just to kind of make your life a little bit easier. But I only included like one nightstand because again I was thinking, you know, the only one sim lived here. But if you have two sims and they try to like scoot across the bed and like, you know, it gets complicated. I feel like, you know, if one sim needs to get out of the bed but they're on the inside, like, you know what I mean? So it's just easier that you have access to both sides. And then I do end up including a little office space here as well. And then of course a dresser, and like, so your sim should have everything they need in this space. And I mean, it is a pretty spacious home, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to remember if I actually don't even know if it's considered a tiny home by the game just because of all the fencing and everything I have, which is a bit frustrating. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, is it not considered a tiny home just because you have a fenced in yard kind of thing, you know? And I do know there's ways around it. I think you can like delete out a piece of fence and then like draw it separately and then like drop it in. Do you know what I mean? So I think there are ways around it, but I just ended up not worrying about it. But of course, if you do want to like swap it up, you're of course feel free to, you're welcome to. And then just adding in some clutter. And I feel like the lamp I put on the dresser is one that I never use, but I felt like it was perfect in this room. So I was really excited. I feel like I got to use items that I don't use super often, and it just like really did make sense in this space. And then I kind of basically made that center hallway kind of the hobby area. If that makes sense. So I think it was putting a guitar in there and then putting the chess table here. I'm not sure what this sim does for work. You know what I mean? Like, I've got like degrees on the wall, but I don't know what the degree's for. I just kind of built. Like, I just kind of like decorated. Like, I feel like the last build I posted, I really had a specific sim in mind, and for this one I really didn't. You know what I mean? And then of course just adding a little bit of clutter here under the TV. And don't worry, all those boxes there on top will go away, but I placed those there so that items are less likely to clip to the top there, so I can actually place things on the bottom, because stuff doesn't actually clip to the bottom shelf of that little, like, I don't know, it's not really an entertainment center table thing. Like, and I'm not even sure why there was a couch out in the front yard. I probably moved like the one that I had in there just to see if I wanted to swap it out. But you can see I'm kind of like changing up what I have in the front yard because I just think this fits this sim a little bit better. And I do end up putting a car out front as well. And I do make it like, I think it's like a gray sports car is what I end up doing. And in case you're wondering, I do like to mention it periodically. The cars are like located in like the debug live edit. So if you turn those cheats on, then you can actually find these cars. I used to actually take the toy cars and size them up. So before we had access to debug and everything, and I just think it's kind of funny. I feel like I need to like go back and look at some of those builds or just try doing it and remind myself what it looks like. I have a feeling it doesn't look as good, but it's been a while since, you know, we actually got access to debug. So that has been really awesome and has honestly, I feel like, changed the way people build. And at this point I decided, you know what, let's actually put a backyard in here, and then we put like a grill, a seating area. I think I put a bar as well out here. I figured this would be a really nice entertaining space for your sim. And I even end up putting the what are the heaters out there? I think they're from Dine Out. I feel like I always forget about them, but basically if you've seen them like in real life, like businesses or, you know, people like in their residence will put them outside and they'll like be like a fire heater, and so like you can still hang out there even if it's, you know, cold outside. I don't know, it felt like it matched. Like it felt like this sim would have those outside because maybe they entertain a lot. So I did try to I'm trying to remember if I actually kept the fireplace or not. I remember being very back and forth about it and trying to figure out exactly what I wanted this space to look like, because I did want to make sure I had a seating area as well as like a dining table and the bar area. So I really tried to put like a lot of stuff back here, to be honest. And I think I struggled a lot with the wood tones like on the fireplace and the grill. I think really is what became the problem. I kind of wanted to use like black tones in here instead of the like wood tones, and I brought the counters we used in the kitchen and brought it out here. I figured it would be a really nice grill area. Honestly, that would be like a dream of mine. I would love to have a really cool, like one of those like kitchenette bar things outside in my backyard. That would be like so cool, but they are so expensive. Like I've looked at them before and I'm like, oh no, I don't know if that's really going to be something I'm going to prioritize right now in order to buy. But I did end up using that coffee table with a fire in it because, again, I just thought that would be really nice to have out here. And then just, of course, adding in just some clutter and things like that just to make it look a little more lived in. And then, like I said, we do end up putting the heaters out here and then the work table as well. But if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.
Afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared